The first thing I did after being reborn was to throw away the glass beads in my hand and rush home. Pushing open the door, I had to restrain myself with all my might to keep from charging in with a knife upon hearing the disgusting flirtatious laughter coming from inside. Just as I thought, in my past life, my father would demand that I play outside for at least 2 hours after school before coming home, every few days. Later, because of this, I was abducted by human traffickers and wasn't rescued until 8 years later. Not only did my father feel no guilt about it, but he was also deeply resentful of my return. I never understood why until after my death, when I floated in midair and watched him passionately entangled in bed with his neighbor's wife. Only then did it dawn on me, he was afraid I would expose his affair. In that case, I won't hold back in this lifetime. I pinched the tender flesh on the inside of my thigh hard, and tears instantly gushed out. I turned and dashed out of the room, running to the small square where I cried and wailed with all my might. My dad pinned the neighbor auntie on the bed and beat her. She's almost beaten to death. As these words fell, the square instantly became as quiet as a chicken. The elderly man playing cards froze with his hand mid-air, the card held aloft and never played. The auntie cracking melon seeds stopped chewing, her excitement visibly growing. Neighbor Sister Liu smiled and took my hand. "Elia, what's going on? Explain it clearly so everyone knows how to help you." I sobbed, yet my voice was unusually clear. I heard Auntie say that if Dad keeps doing that, she'll soon die. Then I heard Dad hitting Auntie hard several times, saying he wanted to kill her. What should we do? Will Dad go to jail? Someone was choked and coughed several times in succession. The neighborhood committee elder stood forward. "Elia, are you serious? Then we can't just ignore this. Come on, let's go break it up before things get out of hand." Her tone was unmistakably excited. The others quickly agreed and hurried to follow. The bedroom door was pushed open. The commotion must have been too loud, as my dad and Junshu heard it and hastily tied it up. But time was tight, and clearly, they hadn't managed to tidy up properly. Junshu's shirt buttons were misaligned, her hair disheveled, the red marks on her collarbone clearly visible, and the lingering seductiveness in her eyes hadn't completely faded. My dad still had lipstick smudged on his face, shielding Junshu firmly behind him, his expression a mix of shock and anger. "What are you doing? This is trespassing." Neighbor Sister Liu stepped forward with a smile. "We heard from Elia that you and June were fighting, so we were worried about you, but now it seems you two are getting along just fine." Everyone understood the implication of her words, and some couldn't help but chuckle quietly. My father's face turned a mix of green and red, but he had no idea how to defend himself and could only shout loudly, "Get out, all of you, get out." The people who came were all gossip lovers in their daily lives. How could they bear to leave just like that? Someone couldn't hold back and cursed from within the crowd. "I knew my wife died early, but I never expected you'd cheat with our own neighbor. What a despicable bastard." Under the crowd's scornful gazes, Junshu burned with shame and humiliation, breaking into quiet sobs. My father couldn't bear to see the woman he loved suffer such humiliation. Gritting his teeth, he grabbed a nearby broom and swung it at the crowd. "What the hell are you all talking about? Shut the fuck up." Seeing my father's frenzied expression, the group reluctantly left, turning back every few steps with lingering reluctance. Once they were gone, my father's gaze fell upon me. His eyes filled with menace. "Did you fucking do this on purpose?" I had no doubt that if I admitted it, he would throw me off the building the very next second. I had long experienced his cruelty. In my past life, during the 8 years I was abducted, I suffered from lack of clothing and food, was treated like a beast of burden, and developed severe stomach problems at a young age. Even after being rescued, he never treated me well. He found the scars on my face and the smell on my body disgusting, strictly forbidding me from eating at the table. I could only scavenge for leftovers after they finished their meals. Later, my stomach condition worsened, and I occasionally vomited blood. He just looked at me as if I were a dead dog. I asked him through tears, "Am I not your daughter? Why are you treating me like this?" The disgust in his eyes grew even stronger. "You're not worthy." I thought he looked down on me for not being good enough, so I stuttered like crazy, just wanting to earn his approval. Later, during the college entrance exams, I got into a top-tier national university. But he still didn't think much of me. Instead, he treated the neighbor's daughter, who only got into a vocational college, as his own, even saying he'd cover her tuition fees. I clutched the admission letter, mustered my courage, and timidly asked, "Dad, what about me?" He kicked me square in the chest. "I've raised you till 18. That's more than enough. Still want to keep sucking my blood?" That very day, he kicked me out of the house. Later, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and the pain made it completely impossible for me to continue my part-time job. The rent had already taken up most of my savings, and I couldn't even afford painkillers. I begged him to lend me some money. He spat in my face and told me to get lost, saying I was an eyesore. After my death, I thought he might show some remorse, but he didn't. For decades after, until my soul completely faded away, he never did. Only my neighbor uncle would bring me a bouquet of flowers every year on the anniversary of my death. "Speak up. Have you gone mute?" My dad grabbed me and questioned me fiercely. The memory was interrupted, and I said aggrievedly, "You said you wanted to kill Auntie Junshu." I was scared, so I asked the uncles and aunties to come and stop the fight. My dad was so angry that his chest kept heaving. "I told you not to come back before 7 o'clock, didn't I? You have no memory, do you? Get out, don't come back tonight." He threw me out of the house, and the door slammed shut heavily in front of me, excitedly rubbing my hands. I knocked on Aunt Liu's door next door. Aunt Liu was the neighborhood's walking grapevine. She knew every household's business inside out and was quite popular among the local aunties. That night, I spilled every detail about my dad and Junshu's little affair, then went to bed at Aunt Liu's place, thoroughly satisfied. So it wasn't long before my dad realized that the situation had completely changed. The rumors about him and Junshu circulating outside seemed well-founded, and some even felt compelled to contact Uncle Neighbor about it. Unfortunately, Uncle Neighbor was likely out at sea with the ship. Their trips usually lasted 1 or 2 months, and they often had no signal, so reaching him would probably take quite a while. The gossip outside was too intense. Junshu stays holed up at home all day, not even daring to pick up her daughter from school. My father's clients have also started leaving in droves. My father yells about wanting to kill me. Every time this happens, I run outside and scream, under the watchful eyes of the crowd. He was furious but couldn't do anything to me. My life here is quite enjoyable and fulfilling. On the other hand, my neighbor's daughter, Arya Ju, isn't having such a good time. The affair between her mother and my father has become public, and everyone who sees her can't help but whisper a few words behind her back. Arya Ju is very concerned about Face and never got along with me. After finding out that I was the cause of everything, she started picking on me from time to time. Of course, I never let her get the upper hand. One day, as I was walking home from school, she secretly followed me. Seeing no one around, she picked up a stone and hurled it hard at the back of my head. I had been prepared and dodged it. She wanted to come at me again, but I kicked her away. She fell to the ground, looking disheveled and cursing loudly. "Elia Ju, you bitch. I'm going to tell your dad and have him beat you to death." Catching a glimpse of the figure at the end of the alley from the corner of my eye, I smiled indifferently. "Is that so? Then I'll be waiting." In my past life, the human trafficker's initial target had always been Arya Ju. Raised by my father and her mother, she was pampered to perfection. Fair, delicate, and clearly destined to be a beauty, not like me, skinny and scrawny. In my past life, when she was caught, that cry of, "Sister, save me," stirred my compassion. I lunged forward and bit down hard on the human trafficker's hand. Arya Ju ran away just like that. While I was sent deep into the mountains to become a child bride for a mentally unstable fool, the fool's family was poor. I slept in a pig pen for 8 years. Once, the pigs went berserk and mauled me until I was covered in blood, leaving horrifying scars on my face and a stench on my body that I could never wash away. When I was later rescued, the police told me that Arya Ju hadn't even mentioned to them that she had seen the human traffickers. If she had clearly stated the time and place of the disappearance from the beginning, the case wouldn't have taken so long to solve. Moreover, after I was rescued, she bullied me more than once. Even during the days when I was diagnosed with stomach cancer and barely clinging to life, she didn't let me go. She grabbed my hair, dragged me off the bed, and slammed me hard onto the floor. "You're just a worthless piece of trash, destined to rot in a pigsty your whole life. Who do you think you are? How dare you come asking for money? Every penny your father has is meant for me. Don't even think about taking a single cent." She never believed my miserable fate had anything to do with her, convinced I was born worthless. So, in this lifetime, I'll make sure she returns to the life she was meant to have. Aria Ju is gone. The police were also completely clueless. Junshu spent her days in tears, seeing her like this. My father even disregarded the gossip and moved in to live with her. Completely unconcerned about how a 5-year-old child like me would manage alone at home, I was quite content with the freedom, spending my days at home using the landline to call my neighbor uncle's number over and over again. Finally, one morning a week later, I got through. I only told him about Aria Ju being missing, not a single word more, so when the neighbor uncle rushed back in a panic in the middle of the night, he saw this scene. His neighbor and his wife were lying naked in each other's arms, sleeping soundly. The neighbor uncle often goes out to sea with the ship and frequently needs to load and unload cargo. His well-built muscles are definitely not just for show. That night, my dad broke 2 ribs and had his nose bridge fractured, trembling as he dialed 120 for himself. The next morning, as soon as I arrived at the hospital room, I heard Junshu inside, crying her heart out. "All you care about is making money. I barely see you a few times a year. Is it my fault for cheating? Why don't you reflect on yourself?" I stood by listening, just wanting to give her a thumbs up. Didn't she ever consider that without Uncle next door, her life wouldn't be so comfortable? Back in the early 2000s, a single tank top of hers cost over 1,000 yuan. Uncle earned tens of thousands a month and gave every penny to her, all because he felt guilty. He was close with my dad. He even worried that no one would take care of the mother and daughter, so he gritted his teeth and took out a loan to buy them an apartment in the same complex where my dad rented, just hoping my dad could look after them more. Little did they expect that this act of care would lead them straight to bed. Uncle didn't argue with Junshu either. He simply said coldly, "Let's get divorced." How could Junshu bear to part with Uncle, her cash cow? She immediately resorted to tears, tantrums, and threats of suicide. "Why should I, Drew Ju? I've borne your children and managed this household for so many years. Even if I haven't done enough to earn merit, I've certainly put in hard work. So what if I made a small mistake? Why must you keep harping on it? You're a man. Can't you be more magnanimous?" Uncle was so angry that veins bulged at his temples, but he still didn't hit her. Junshu only grew more aggrieved the more she spoke, and eventually cried herself into a faint. The doctor examined her. Well, she was over a month pregnant. There was no doubt about who the father was. In her previous life, Junshu, afraid that her affair with my father would be exposed, went all the way to the coast to see my uncle after finding out she was pregnant. Later, she lied and claimed to have given birth prematurely to a son. The child looked like Junshu, so the uncle didn't suspect much and raised the child for over 20 years. Later, when the truth came out, the child even teamed up with my father to seize the uncle's property and then drove him out of the house. In this lifetime, I will bring everything into the open. They will never have another chance to exploit my uncle again. When Junshu woke up and found out she was pregnant, instead of feeling ashamed, she became even more aggrieved. Seeing her uncle determined to divorce, she refused to give up. "Drew Ju, now that Arya is gone, can't you just treat this child as your own? Must you be so petty?" Uncle, who had never hit a woman before, ultimately couldn't hold back and slapped her hard. "Get out." The people in the neighborhood, upon learning that Junshu had an affair and failed to pick up her daughter, which led to the child being abducted, and that she was pregnant with the neighbor's child, caused the incident to escalate even further. Later on, it even reached the point where a tabloid reporter wrote an article specifically about it and published it in our local news. Under the pressure of public opinion, and with the threat of her uncle suing if she didn't divorce, Junshu ultimately agreed to the divorce. Before leaving, she even managed to take a sum of money. My father joyfully brought Junshu home. Later, he specifically took Junshu to the hospital for a checkup. After subtly finding out it was a son, he treated Junshu like royalty, pampering her even more. The two quickly got their marriage certificate, and their married life turned out to be exceptionally loving. Although my father lost his job due to public opinion, he had some savings and ensured Junshu had the best in food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Junshu was glowing with health, enjoying both companionship and financial freedom, and now she no longer pined for her uncle. But as time went on, she grew increasingly hostile toward me. Terrified that I might compete with her son for the family fortune, I overheard her more than once, both openly and subtly, urging my father to abandon me. My father probably harbored the same thoughts. With a son and a new wife, this daughter of his became even more worthless. As Junshu's belly gradually grew larger, fearing that the gossip in the neighborhood might affect her mood during pregnancy, my dad simply took Junshu and moved away, of course, without bringing along this burden, me. When I came back from school, the entire house was already empty, with the landlord coming to reclaim the property. I was so angry I laughed. Does he even realize he's committed the crime of abandonment? After calling the police, the first to arrive was the neighbor uncle. He picked me up and sighed heavily several times. Such a poor fate. That Noxju is a beast, Elia. Why don't you come live with uncle from now on? We can keep each other company. Later, when he heard someone was willing to take in this burden, my father couldn't wait to complete the transfer procedures, afraid I would disrupt his blissful married life with Junshu. The neighbor uncle took me home. This rough, inarticulate man began learning how to be a proper elder. Drifting through half a lifetime, one could see how the great upheaval in his family had struck him hard. He quit his job at sea and found some menial work to scrape by in our small county town. Though stumbling along the way, it was only now that our lives finally settled into stability. For 9 whole years, I never saw Junshu or my biological father, Noxju, again. I saw them again at the college celebration banquet my uncle threw for me after I skipped a grade, took the college entrance exam early, and became the top scorer in the province. He and Junshu were stopped outside by a waiter. Holding a little boy, "This is my daughter's celebration banquet. Why can't I go in? Don't you dare look down on people, you dog." The commotion they made was so loud that my uncle and I had no choice but to go out and deal with it. At the sight, we were nearly shocked out of our wits. Noxju's skin was tanned dark, and though he wasn't even 40 yet, his back was already hunched. As for Junshu, she was no longer the fair-skinned beauty she once was. Her face covered with the brown spots left by childbirth, and her clothes looked undeniably cheap. The child held by the couple should be 8 years old this year, but looks more like 5 or 6, with a sallow complexion and a thin, frail frame. It seems life hasn't been kind to them these past years. This is a far cry from the previous life. In the previous life, Junshu was doted on by her uncle and enjoyed a life of luxury for half her lifetime. Noxju is a salesman who is articulate and performs exceptionally well in his job. He's thriving in the company, easily earning over 10,000 a month. Their illegitimate child was showered with endless affection. The moment Noxju saw me, his eyes lit up, and he rushed over to tightly grasp my hand. "Elia, do you remember me? I'm your dad," I sneered. "Of course I remember. The thing between you and your neighbor's wife is still widely talked about in our neighborhood." The smile on my father's face froze. "Child, how can you listen to outsiders' nonsense? I'm your father. You should be on my side, understand?" I resisted the urge to roll my eyes and pulled my hand back. "Cut the crap and get to the point." A flash of anger crossed his face, but he quickly suppressed it. The next moment, he actually knelt down right in front of me. Bang, 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 knocking his head 3 times in quick succession. "Elia, save your brother. You're the only one who can save him now." In Noxju's tearful account, I finally understood. My half-brother has kidney failure and won't live more than 2 years without a transplant. "Have you and your wife been tested for compatibility?" I asked. Both of them paused for a moment. I immediately understood. Their own son was sick, and these two didn't want to donate a kidney, so they came to emotionally blackmail me instead. We did, but the doctor said it wasn't a match. "Elia, you can't just stand by and watch him die. He's your brother. When you marry in the future, he'll be your family backing you up." That's right. Our Chuan is so capable, and it's just 1 kidney. You're young, Elia. You'll recover quickly, and it won't really cost you anything. Junshu hurriedly added, afraid I might refuse. All these years later, I'm still shocked by their shamelessness. Uncle couldn't bear to listen any longer and called security to have them removed, seeing how heartless he was. Junshu immediately threw a tantrum. Ju, you heartless bastard, we were married for 6 years, and you have to be this ruthless. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution? Their noise was driving me crazy. Just then, the police walked in. Ju, are you here? Your daughter Arya Ju has been found. Hearing this news, all of us were momentarily stunned. The uncle stepped forward to negotiate with the police. I glanced at Junshu, who still hadn't reacted, and leaned in to whisper in her ear, a ready-made kidney is right here, isn't it? Junshu shuddered, and after a moment, a gleam lit up in her eyes. Arya Ju's situation wasn't much better than mine. I slept in a pigsty, while she slept in a chicken coop and even lost an eye to a peck. Her once tall and voluptuous figure from her past life was now barely reaching 1.5 meters. Her face was covered in stubborn grime, and her body emitted a pungent odor. The mother and daughter embraced and wept, but Junshu was repeatedly nauseated by the scent on her. After nearly a decade apart, life had worn Junshu down, and seeing Arya Ju in this state, she felt no trace of affection left. Several times, I caught the disdain in Junshu's eyes. Yet despite it all, she still tried to play the part of a loving mother. The uncle watched from the side, his gaze complicated. To sustain Junshu's extravagant lifestyle, he went to sea by ship when Arya Ju was still too young to remember much. As a result, Arya Ju had little affection for him and instead grew fonder of Nox Ju, who often doted on her. This time when he returned, she barely even glanced at her uncle. In the end, she didn't hesitate for a moment before choosing to leave with Junshu and Nox Ju. Her uncle said nothing, only quietly pulling her aside to slip her a card. There's 200,000 in the card, take it and don't let your mom know. I watched the scene unfold without intervening. I understood that my uncle felt he owed Arya Ju too much. If spending some money could ease his conscience, why not let him? Arya Ju pocketed the card without saying a word to my uncle and turned to leave immediately. As she brushed past me, her steps hesitated for a brief moment. Just wait. Sooner or later I'll finish you off. My gaze swept across the hotel entrance where Junshu and Nox Ju, arms around their son, were looking at Arya Ju with eager anticipation. I curled my lips and responded the same way I had 9 years ago. Oh, then I'll be waiting, knowing I would never donate a kidney to his son. Nox Ju lied to Arya Ju, claiming to take her for a full-body checkup, but secretly conducted a compatibility test instead. The match was successful. With a kidney source secured, only the surgery fee remained. Nox Ju then set his sights on my scholarship money. He showed up carrying those cheap, 1 or 2 yuan per pound rotten mangoes bought from the roadside. Elia, your dad remembers how much you loved mangoes as a child. I walked so far to buy these. Try one. I glanced at the mangoes in the bag, partially blackened and wrinkled on the surface. Disgusted, I replied, thanks, but I'm allergic to mangoes. A flash of embarrassment crossed Nox Ju's face. Daddy must have remembered wrong. What do you like to eat? How about Daddy gives you money to buy some? He probably thought I would refuse, as his hand stayed in his pocket without moving for a long time. I didn't say anything, just leaned against the door with a smirk. Watching him put on his act, the atmosphere was so awkward he couldn't bear it anymore. Finally, after fumbling in his pocket for a long time, he pulled out a 20 yuan bill and reluctantly handed it to me. Elia, Dad heard you did well in your exams and the school rewarded you with 200,000 yuan. Is that true? Yes. Nox Ju's expression grew agitated. Could you lend it to Dad first? You know, your brother needs surgery. And the expenses are too high. Your siblings, connected by blood. You can't be like those heartless people who refuse to help in times of need, to say it's a loan, but in truth, there was never any intention to pay it back. I slapped that $20 bill right onto his face. So you think you can trick me out of 200 grand with just $20? Nox Ju, who's the fool here, you or me? The $20 bill fell to the ground, and he scrambled to pick it up, stuffing it into his own pocket. How can this be considered deception? Elia, you need to understand one thing. You're a girl, and in the end, you'll have to rely on your brother. If you treat him well now, he won't mistreat you in the future." Unable to bear his idiotic remarks any longer, I slammed the door right in his face. "Get lost. Don't let me see you again," just like the words he said to me in my past life. Knox Jew was so furious that he cursed loudly at the door. "You black-hearted wretch, I should have fed you to the dogs the day you were born. Top scorer. Just wait. I'll expose you, and you'll regret it," in his mind, simply because he fathered me. He believed he had the right to control every aspect of my life. Even if he neglected me, it didn't stop him from demanding things from me. That very afternoon, he pompously wrote a lengthy essay of several thousand words to the newspaper, denouncing the misdeeds of me, the provincial top scorer. The buzz around the top scholar topic is undeniable, attracting many clueless reporters who came flocking at the first hint of news. "May I ask why you've shown no concern for your father? Is there some hidden reason? You received a scholarship but refused to use it for your brother's surgery. Do you think 200,000 yuan is more important than your brother's life? Between someone with virtue but no talent and someone with talent but no virtue, which do you think is more despicable? Could you share your thoughts?" Among them were certainly questions deliberately designed to steer public opinion for the sake of popularity. I responded to each one, "Yes. I do despise my biological father, and I truly believe that 200,000 is more important than my brother's life." That very day, I was bombarded with criticism and became a trending topic, calling me worse than an animal, saying I lack humanity, claiming I should be banned by all universities. My uncle was so worried. This 6-foot-tall man was pacing around the house like an ant on a hot pan. "How could you say such things? Should I go out and explain for you?" I helplessly pulled him to sit down. "It's okay, uncle, don't worry." I never came forward to explain, and when people in the neighborhood wanted to help me clarify the situation, I stopped them all. I only opened a short video account and posted some videos featuring myself. In just 1 week, the account gained hundreds of thousands of followers. All kinds of vicious comments flooded my comment section, cursing me to die, saying I don't deserve to be human, and so on. Knox Jew was absolutely delighted to see me being cyberbullied. "If you obediently hand over the money now, I might put in a good word for you. Otherwise, just wait to be drowned in everyone's spit." I couldn't even be bothered to respond to him. He started another online fundraiser playing the victim. But I didn't expose him. Then, at the peak of the controversy, I posted a clarification video, presenting my property transfer documents and the police report I filed back then. Moreover, over 100 neighbors in the community were willing to speak up for me, with each of them adding their voice. The truth about Knox Jew's past actions was completely exposed. Public opinion instantly turned overwhelmingly against him, with everyone demanding that Knox Jew refund the money. But once the money was in their pockets, they couldn't bear to part with it and simply chose to ignore the demands. Staying silent, an angry netizen couldn't hold back and directly splashed feces on him. The whole family huddled in their house, afraid to go out or answer the phone. Even grocery shopping had to be done stealthily. Uncle, worried that Arya Jew might be implicated, went to ask if she wanted to move in with him, only to be mocked by Arya Jew in return. She called him hypocritical and said he made her sick. Feeling disheartened, the uncle stopped inquiring further. Not long after, Knox Jew's family fell victim to a home invasion. The robbers threatened June Shu's life to force Knox Jew to hand over the raised funds, but he stubbornly refused, resulting in June Shu being stabbed 3 times. Fortunately, a passerby called the police in time, and the prompt arrival of officers saved June Shu's life. This once loving couple, worn down by the daily grind of life, has now become indifferent to each other's well-being. Despite this, June Shu refuses to divorce at all costs. She believes her current state is entirely Knox Jew's fault. If he hadn't deliberately seduced her back then, how could she have possibly cheated? If she hadn't cheated, her life with her uncle would surely be more comfortable than this. Now, in her current state, no one would want her anyway, so she's determined to drag Knox Jew down with her. Knox Jew also felt that his current destitution was all June Shu's fault. If it weren't for her extravagant spending, he wouldn't be in such dire straits with his original savings. The two were locked in a dog-eat-dog battle, neither willing to back down, each determined to take a vicious bite out of the other. The charity funds they raised were also deemed ill-gotten gains and were all confiscated and returned. 6 months later, Knox Jew still went through with his son's surgery. I could easily guess where the surgery money came from. Later, I found out that the money was obtained from Aria Jew to force her to donate a kidney. Mr. and Mrs. Knox Jew locked Aria Jew in a sweet potato cellar, giving her only one meal every 2 days. This ordeal was even worse than the days when she was abducted. Aria Jew escaped from one cage only to end up in another, and this time, the cage was shackled onto her by her own birth mother. She thought she was returning to the warm embrace of her mother, but in reality, she was stepping into an even darker abyss. The reason for this was simply that her brother had an extra bit of flesh. He was a boy. After being confined for a full month, Aria Jew could no longer endure it and was forced to agree to donate a kidney. Even after the kidney donation, the Drews didn't forget to squeeze the last bit of value out of Aria Jew. At the age of 17, they tied Aria Jew up and sold her to an old man in a neighboring village for 30,000 yuan. Like me in my past life, Aria Jew cried and questioned Junshu, "Why are you doing this to me? Am I not your daughter?" Junshu stared at her with disgust in her eyes. "Look at what you've become, ugly, blind, and a worn-out shoe. I'm lucky to even marry you off. What more do you want?" And so, Aria Jew was given away to a widowed old man. All this happened while I was struggling alongside my uncle in the city where I attended university, with memories from my past life. I seized many opportunities ahead of time. They've dabbled in campus food delivery, e-commerce, short videos, and more, capitalizing on their previous online popularity to make a fortune. My uncle was also constantly on the move with me, and both of us were so busy we barely had time to catch our breath, paying little attention to matters back home, until the police showed up at our door again. From the police, we learned the whole truth. Perhaps Aria Jew was inherently a madwoman. Or perhaps she was driven to the brink with no way out. In the 2nd year of her marriage to the old man, she was beaten until she miscarried. The old man was convinced he was infertile and accused Aria Jew of cheating, even though she had been chained to the bed like a dog the entire time. On the night of the miscarriage, while the old man slept, Aria Jew tore open his throat with her teeth. It took her another day to break free from the iron chains, grab a chopping axe, and storm into Junshu's house. She slaughtered the entire family. The police said that the last place Aria Jew went to was her uncle's house, where the door was chopped full of cracks. Had her uncle been home at the time, it would have been difficult for him to escape the same fate. Upon hearing the news, the uncle was deeply distressed. Have I failed as a father? If I had spent more time with her as she grew up, or if I had let her stay with me after she was rescued, would the outcome have been different? I can't answer this question for him, but I firmly believe that some people are born evil. Take Knox Jew and his wife, for example, or Aria Jew. In their past life, Knox Jew colluded with his illegitimate child to drive their uncle out in the dead of winter. The uncle, overwhelmed with despair, contemplated jumping into the river. Aria Jew not only watched coldly from the sidelines but also deliberately provoked him, standing by as the uncle sank to the riverbed. Later, she couldn't even be bothered to retrieve his body. To treat one's own father, who raised them for decades, in such a manner, I absolutely refuse to believe such a person is entirely shaped by nurture. Her mindset is worthy of the suffering she endures. Over all these years, I've actually considered telling my uncle about my rebirth more than once, but after much hesitation, I still chose to keep it hidden. And a significant part of that decision is tied to Aria Jew. My uncle's life has been hard enough. I'd rather let him believe his daughter was poorly raised than have him learn she was a born monster who killed her own father. Let me bear the pain from my past life. There's no need to drag my uncle into it again. Aria Jew was diagnosed with a mental illness and sent to a psychiatric hospital. My uncle and I still went back to visit her once. When we arrived, she was having an episode, and it took several nurses working together to restrain her. I shouldn't be like this. This shouldn't be my life. This belongs to Elia Jew. It's all that bitch's fault. That bitch ruined me. She screamed with all her might, her eyes instantly bloodshot the moment she saw me. How dare you show up? You're the one who should have been trafficked. Bitch, I'll kill you, bitch. At that moment, I realized she might have encountered some trigger, recalling events from her past life. Though I couldn't be entirely certain, so I gave a slight nod. I mouthed the words, "Right, it's your turn this lifetime." Fair enough, isn't it? I couldn't tell if she understood, but I saw her expression grow increasingly frenzied, her eyes burning with deep-seated hatred. Again, give my life back to me. The nurse administered a sedative to her, and she gradually drifted into unconsciousness, tears continuously streaming from the corners of her eyes. I held my uncle's arm and turned to leave. I know, against the backdrop of her proud and happy life in her previous existence, the pain of this lifetime would only become even more pronounced, clear enough to shatter her, to destroy her. As for me, I will cherish the hard-won happiness I have now even more. Extra story. The year I graduated from university, my uncle remarried. The person I married is one of my business partners, nearly 40 years old, unmarried, gentle and intellectual. My uncle is somewhat dull when it comes to emotions, yet even someone like him displayed a passion in pursuing love that I had never seen before. Later, we found out. Auntie had a daughter when she was young, who was also taken by human traffickers, and all these years she never gave up searching for her. I recalled the dark days after being abducted in my previous life. An experience that brings me a suffocating sense of near-death every time I think of it. I am fortunate to have been given the chance to live another life, yet at the same time, countless other children have suffered everything I did, without the opportunity for a second chance. Their bones buried in foreign lands, gnawed by snakes, insects, rats, and ants, with no one to speak for them. I am no longer that pitiful little girl from my past life. Now, I have the means to give back to society. So I made a suggestion to my uncle. How about we establish an organization, let's call it Baby Come Home. While helping Auntie, we can also assist abducted children in returning to their normal families. Baby Come Home was officially established. We are dedicated to rescuing abducted children and addressing their psychological rehabilitation after they return home. We accept every child who is rejected, suppressed, or despised by their birth families. We provide them with quality education, ample means of livelihood, and warm love. This community has grown increasingly larger over time. At a young age, I have come to have dozens of children. The burdens of my past life gradually dissipated as the children gathered around me, calling me Chairman Mom over and over again. I was no longer the pitiful creature begging for scraps in my previous life. I had become a safe harbor for these children. The more people who find shelter in this harbor, the farther the winds that blow through it will reach. Those heavy wounds will also find solace and calm in the wind.